All right, man. This is a show we've been doing for several months now, but we finally settled on a name. We're the Trial Guys. What do you think about that, Patrick?
I think it works.
We just wrapped up our coverage of the Murdaugh trial and some new developments related to that story. It was announced a couple of days ago that the family for Stephen Smith, a young man who died under tragic and mysterious circumstances in 2015, they're going to exhume his body and provide an independent autopsy. The family were able to use a combination of crowdsourcing and other funds to raise, I think was reported as around $60,000 to have Stephen Smith's body exhumed so that they could have an independent autopsy. If you've not followed the Murdaugh story, this is one of those stories that was sort of related to the Alex Murdaugh trial. He died under some mysterious circumstances on the side of a road, apparently, in South Carolina in 2015. So now 7-8 years ago.
Well, I know the family originally sought $15,000, and like you said, by the reporting of it, it was over $60,000 that they had raised. I think that the estimated cost was going to be around $7,000 to perform the autopsy at a rate of about $750 an hour. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that. That this body is probably highly decomposed at this point.
What I was reading about this is apparently the family claims that they were initially told that Stephen was shot. Then they were told that I think he was beaten. And then they were told he was hit by a car. So they've never been satisfied with what the cause of death was or even what the general circumstances of the death was. I think it was eventually officially detailed as a hit and run car accident where the state is claiming that he was hit by a car and was therefore found deceased, and nobody was ever found because it was a hit and run driver. So he was just hit on the side of the road and left there to die. It's a tragic case, no matter what happens. The family, I think, has been suspicious that something else happened and they don't know what it is. And I think that they've been fairly vocal about their worry that there was some sort of cover up or something like that. And after what we've seen in the Alex Murdaugh trial, I would see that anybody is going to be suspicious of anything that they're told regarding anything that comes in the orbit of Alex Murdaugh. I frankly don't blame the family for wanting to get more answers. And even if it does prove that he was struck on the side of the road, at least they'll have some closure there because they seem to have a lot of unanswered questions about what happened. So we'll be following this.
Well, there's a pretty significant contradiction with the investigation of Stephen Smith's death. This led, as the state, the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, that they were the same law enforcement division that investigated the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. But the SLED pathologist stated that Smith appeared to have been hit by a vehicle, while the responding state patrol trooper said that there were no vehicle debris, no skid marks or injuries consistent with someone being struck by a vehicle. I think that if you've seen any of the documentaries and discussion on the state of Stephen Smith's body, there were no torn clothing. His shoes weren't scuffed up. He didn't have extensive road rash all over his knees or anything. He did have some scrapes, but not consistent with being hit by a vehicle at a high rate of speed, sufficient to cause the injuries to his head. So it does make sense that there's not a clear understanding of what killed this young man. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people's eyes are going to be on this. We'll be continuing to watch this story and a lot of other things related to the Alex Murdaugh case as we move into sort of the second phase of this story, which is going to be the upcoming trial of the Mallory Beach civil case, which should be in just a matter of months, which is kind of another story that's sort of related to the Alex Murdaugh trial and definitely was hugely important in setting off a chain of events that eventually were covered in depth at the trial. All right, so be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like us. It's the Trial Guys. Don't forget about the new name. And we hope to see you here in the next few days.